Hey, Ron again here with another update on my Triumph Tiger Sport 660. I did one at 600 miles, and now it's at about 6,300, so there's just tons of new stuff. The one thing I really forgot to talk about the last time was handling, because I love twisty roads, and that's what we're going to go do today. And this thing really handles great. It's kind of a fine line sometimes between quick steering and slow steering. I've had bikes that were just absolutely wonderful in the twisties, and then you get out on the freeway and they're twitchy, and it's almost worse the other way, where I've had bikes that are great on long trips and they just track down the road like you don't have any input, but then you get on a twisty road and it's like trying to get a tank through the corners. So this really has very neutral, great handling. The Michelin tires that come with it, I've had like 4 sets of these on different bikes. This has 6,300 miles on it. Look at this thing. Road 5. I've had 2 sets of the Road 5s and 2 sets of the Road 4s. They typically go about 11,000 miles. And so a lot of little things that I didn't know at 600 miles. First of all, to turn the high beam on, check this out here, and where my right finger is here. This is normally what I would think of as the flasher, but it actually is also the you turn on the high beam. So one click and you get the high beam. Check out the high beam there in front. And then you can flash it, of course, but it's kind of cool. I kind of like it because if you want to flash, you can. If you want to just use high beam, and the high beam actually gives you a nice bright path. Sometimes when there's a lot of traffic, I leave it on high beam to just warn people that I'm coming. Now, interestingly enough, I said the last time the horn button down here is hard to get to. Check this out. This little protrusion blocks it. And believe me, when you're trying to get to it quickly and you need it, it's hard to do. I've kind of trained myself. Every once in a while when there's nobody around, I hit it. But yeah, that's kind of not the greatest thing. I had it in for a service, which is kind of interesting because at 6,000 miles, you're not supposed to change the oil till 10,000 miles. But I brought it in at 6 and changed the oil and did a couple things, and they reset the service interval, and now it's showing a year from now at 10,000 miles. So that just makes no sense at 4,000 miles. And also, the Triumph dealers and pretty much a lot of the new dealers on other brands want $75 to turn off the maintenance light, which is ridiculous. I just think you should be able to turn the maintenance light out yourself. But anyway, when you do a cold start in the morning, you have to let it turn over a couple times, and then it starts on the second time. Once you've done the cold start, it starts I think it sounds pretty good. My last triple was the street triple, and it really had a sound that's kind of a little nicer than this, and I think a lot of it was coming from the intake. So the next time I bring it in for service, I'm going to try to get a high flow filter of some kind, because I think if nothing else, it'll make the bike sound a lot better. And it was interesting because I tried to get one this time, and they were all out of stock. So I don't know whether everybody's buying them or just they're just not making that many of them. By the way, the shift, I mentioned at 600 miles that when I got the bike, the transmission was so tight it was just impossible to find neutral. By 600 miles, it really was almost perfect. So when they have demo bikes, it's kind of a shame because there's a lot of things with the demo bikes that give you a negative impact. They really should put some miles on them before they let demo bikes go out, because even 300 or 400 miles, the transmission loosens up a lot. And I think a lot of people ran out and bought the quick shifter because it was so hard to deal with the transmission. But once you put some miles on it, it actually works pretty well. The other thing that's disturbing about how they deal with the new bikes is in the manual it says, and I mentioned this at 600 miles, that a solo rider is the loosest position on the preload. So the preload adjuster's over here. And counterclockwise is I call it the softest position, but that's really not accurate. It's the loosest position. And if you weigh about 100, 120 pounds, that's probably correct. But in the manual it says, solo rider plus gear, 30 clicks. 30 clicks to the 30 rotations to the right. And a rider with passenger is all the way, which I've never gone, it's probably 50 or 60. But the way they deliver the bikes, it's at the softest position, the lowest position. And my 200 pounds basically was sacking the bike out. And now I've gone to 20, 25 clicks. It's actually very nice. I thought about putting like an Öhlins shock and doing some suspension work, but really part of the problem is my favorite roads are really just beat up, and to some extent it's more the roads than the bike. And I've had a lot of dual sports and adventure bikes, and they actually work so much better on the kinds of roads that I like. I really wish, I've heard there's a rumor that they might make a adventure model, longer travel suspension with this platform, which would be absolutely wonderful. And so far at 6,300 miles, zero problems, 50 miles to a gallon all the time. Just a really fabulous bike, and I think it's very underrated. It's kind of unfortunate that the dealers tend to call this a budget bike. And to me, a budget bike is a 250 single from China. But anyway, yeah, apparently Triumph kind of pictures this as a budget bike. And I really don't think so. What makes a budget bike? It doesn't have Öhlins shocks. Well, you can buy that. It doesn't have Brembo brakes, but I don't think it really needs it. And by the way, they're coming out with a 400cc single momentarily, and I really want to get a ride on that. Hopefully I can do a test on it. And that's really going to be a budget bike, because that's going to be like, they're saying $5,000 to $6,000. So anyway, if I get my hands on one, hopefully that'll be one of the next tests I do. Anyway, signing off.